right, because, you know, all the way across the world, 3,000 miles away, and you need to see my face to hear my voice. Do you know what people did before cameras were invented? They fucking just talked on the phone, like normal human beings. They're just like, hey, friend, listen, I got this story to tell you.
Okay, right, fuck it then. Yeah, right, done. No fucking distractions, go. Sleep.
Which is kind of fitting for my story.
Okay, cool, right.
A bunch of white people doing things that they don't have any business doing. And being complaining about things they have no business complaining about.
Okay.
So while we were away, we went out to dinner, and where we were staying is kind of like, I don't know, it was like a trendier neighborhood. It was a lot of, like, younger people, and definitely a lot of gay people. Like, there was, like, a lot of gay bars and stuff.
I mean, just for a little bit of context, just to, like, totally butt in, what is DC like as a whole? I mean, is it sort of, like, the nice, like, very, like, white people-centric, like, businessy government-type place, or is there a lot of, like, weird bits to it?
The touristy stuff, and that's all, like, super tourist-central, obviously.
Yeah.
But then you, like, start heading to, like, where actually people live, and that's definitely nice, like, upper class type neighborhoods. I mean, you can rent bikes while you're there to get around the city as a form of public transport. It's like $7 a day, and then, like, the first half hour is free, and then after that it's like $2 an hour or something like that. And you just, like, have to, like, return the bikes to one of the bike shares, and they're literally on, like, every corner.
Yeah, so, like, the thing in New York, basically, but, like, everywhere.
Right, well, like, the city bikes just, they're DC Capital bike share instead of, like, city bike. So, like, we did that the first night that we were down there, and we were riding back to where we were staying, and we kind of got a little turned around and wound up in this neighborhood. And I said to Anthony, I was like, this has to be where, like, congressmen and stuff live, because this many people don't own Range Rovers.
Yeah.
Like, it was just literally, like, all of these big old, like, stone houses with, like, it's not like they were necessarily behind gates, because, like, it is still city, so they're, like, townhouses where they're super close to both the street and the houses next to them.
Yeah.
But they did have, like, hedge fencing with gates that you had to open to, like, get into the driveway.
Oh, okay.
But, like, outside every single house was, like, a Range Rover or a Land Rover or, like, a higher-end BMW. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, this is... normal people don't live here.
Right. So it really is just, like, House of Cards.
I mean, the sections, though, like, that's what I'm saying. So, like, there is different, I guess, I don't know, like, I only really saw what I saw. I was only there for, like, less than 24 hours, or just 24 hours.
Right.
You know, so, like, just whatever, like, I guess there is kind of, like, a shadier side to DC, but I didn't really see that one. You know, I just saw, like, the real touristy bits, and the parts I saw while we were walking around or riding our bikes or where we were staying.
Yeah.
But where we were staying was a particularly trendy section.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, for dinner, we decided we were going to go to an Asian fusion restaurant, because...
Which, for somebody who doesn't know, is what?
Well, it's like, you can get sushi and Japanese food, you can get Chinese food. It's just like
Oh, so it's really racially atrocious, just Asian food all stuck together.
Pretty much. I mean, like, yeah, they make, like, your classic, you know, sweet and sour chicken and General Tso's chicken. They make sushi. Some of them will even have, like, curry dishes, because, you know, Indian is Asian. Like, they'll... Whatever. It's just, like... Or Thai. Like, a lot of pad Thai and Vietnamese food and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But the reason we picked it is because we're bad at being adventurous. And there was all these bars, but it was kind of late at night. Like, we didn't get back. We first got to the city. We, like, kind of looked at our apartment, got it all settled, and then immediately walked down quite a distance to go check out, like, the National Mall, which is where the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, all that shit
big,
is.
like, long bit, yeah.
Which was quite a distance of a walk for, like, where we were staying. As a drive, it wouldn't have been so bad, but, like, walking, it was kind of far.
Okay.
Which is why we took the bikes back. So by the time we got back, it was already, like, 10:30, and we hadn't eaten dinner yet. So our options were bars, which were just starting to become, like, less restaurant, more bar atmospheres.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were just kind of looking to eat, not really, like, you know, eat some chips while standing and drinking, like, type deal. And there was, like, Ethiopian restaurants.
Damn, that would have been great food, as in, like, none at all.
Well, I don't know. It looked pretty good from the window, but I've never had it before, and I'm a super picky eater. So, because it was so late at night, we just were like, fuck it, we'll just go. Like, we know, like I'm vegetarian, so I could eat, like, they always have vegetable sushi at Chinese food places, or I could get, like, lo mein noodles, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
And Anthony will find something. So we decided on that. So we get seated, and we're, like, nestled in a corner, and there's a table behind us and a table next to us. And the table next to us, it's, like, one of those deals where the tables are up against the wall, and the wall has, like, bench seating. So technically I'm sitting on the same bench as, like, the people at the table next to me.
Yeah. So it's just one big, like, row with a bunch of tables in front of it.
Right, but they're, like, a decent distance away, but close enough that I can hear every word that they're saying.
Okay.
So, first, you know, like, I'm just looking at the menu, I'm looking around, I'm not really, like, paying attention, obviously, to other people. But Anthony and I had just been in the car for 5 hours to get there, because we kind of got stuck in some traffic, and we, like, stopped to eat on the way down, and then we walked around the city all together all day. So we've been talking one-on-one for, like, a decent amount of time throughout the day. So, like, during dinner, we were just kind of, like, I don't know, like, it was just a comfortable silence. It wasn't, like, an awkward silence.
You were just zoned out. It was a long day. I get that.
Right. So, I first hear the lady behind him talking. And she's there with another guy. And she's talking about who I assume is her boyfriend. And she keeps referring to him as, you know, him. And that last month she got to see him twice. And this month's going to be even harder because he's working overnights. And then I hear her discussing residency. So I can only assume that this woman's boyfriend is a resident doctor at some hospital somewhere in D.C.
Right.
But she's complaining about how she doesn't see him ever. So it wouldn't really matter if she moved out of D.C. into Georgetown, which is an equally expensive area. But it wouldn't matter if she moved into a bigger apartment in Georgetown because she never sees him anyway. But she doesn't want to leave him because he's not going to be a resident forever. Mind you, Georgetown is less of a distance from D.C. than, like, my boyfriend currently lives from me now. Like,
okay.
You know, like, it's not that big of a distance. This lady was just, like, crying and complaining. And I understand, you know, like, sure, I guess it's difficult for you, but, like, I imagine if you've been dating this guy for any sort of time, you knew he was going to be a doctor. Like, that's not an overnight decision.
Yeah.
You know, like, the dude's been doing it, if he's a resident now, like, at least 8 years, he's been, you know, doing pre-med, med school, like, you knew this guy was doing this. So when you got into the relationship with him, yeah, like, how horrible for you. Your boyfriend has a well-paying job where he saves people's lives. Like, you know, that you entered into the relationship knowing he was doing. Like, yeah.
He doesn't work 9 to 5 for the IRS, is what you're saying.
So sad that you had to move, like, that you are thinking about moving to a very well-off neighborhood 10 minutes away, and you don't know how that's going to affect things. I mean, but I get it. Like, you know, that one wasn't so bad. But it got me down the road of, your problems aren't real.
Okay.
Yeah, well, just because, like, I don't have real problems, but I complain about things.
Right.
You know, like, there's stupid things. Like, I get it. Like, sometimes you just need to vent, you need to talk out your feelings. I understand that. But it put me in that mindset.
That this person is a
like,
whiny bitch and doesn't know what she's got.
Right, and that, you know, sometimes people just take things for granted and like to complain about things. Which was bad. Because my food came, you know, Anthony and I started talking a little bit, but then the people who were sitting next to us, it was a group of 2 guys and a girl who were the people behind us were a little bit older. They were probably in their mid-30s, the one who was, like, talking about a resident boyfriend and stuff.
Yeah.
The people next to us were probably younger than we are.
Right, okay.
And initially, their conversation caught my attention because they were discussing an interesting topic that had happened on, I guess it was The Daily Show, where they did this sort of segment on how if you get raped in, like, certain states in America still, the rapist has paternal rights to the child.
Yeah.
That, like, they can, like, visit your child and, like, you can't terminate them. Mm-hmm. Even if, like, the cause of pregnancy is rape. So it caught my interest because it's an interesting subject. I just want to know what young adults who are... If you're a young adult in D.C., you're probably trying to get into politics.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I had a vested interest in knowing what these kids' opinions on it were, because I want to know what the future of our government or future lobbyists, what their opinions on the matter are. So I was kind of listening to them, and they just kind of sounded like whiny, arrogant buttheads while talking about it. And I agreed with what they were saying, but the manner in which that they were going about saying it was kind of like... he didn't say this, but it was along the lines of like, oh, well, that, Daddy, if I tell Daddy about that, like, Daddy would fix it. Like, it was just that kind of, like... that kind of attitude that they had.
Yeah. The what's the word? I
don't know, pretentious, self-entitled, like...
Yeah, entitled, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, just entitled, know-it-all. Yeah.
Like, it seemed like their noses were consistently, like, they were always smelling something bad. They just had their noses at everything. So towards the end of dinner, like, I stopped kind of paying attention to their conversation. But I noticed around the same time they were talking about that something had happened with something that they had ordered, and they had to send it back and have the kitchen send them something else out.
Okay.
And I guess the kid asked for a dipping sauce that didn't go with the dish, and the waitress had told him it would cost extra if he wanted it, because it didn't belong, like, you know what I mean? Like, they would have offered it complimentary, I guess, with the dish it belonged with.
Right.
But because he, like, wanted it additionally, they were going to charge him or something. And then he got it, he tried it, and didn't like it. And as far as I know, that was the end of it. He didn't say anything else. He didn't anything else. So I stopped paying attention. Anthony and I are talking. We're enjoying our dinner. Whatever. Their bill comes because they were there before us.
Yeah.
And the kid starts complaining that he doesn't want to pay for the sauce that he got. Now, mind you, this is a sushi restaurant, and these kids had each, like, plates of sushi. Now, like, I eat vegetable sushi. That costs, like, $4 for 8 rolls. These kids were definitely not eating vegetable sushi. Like, they must have had, like, a $60, $70 bill between the three of them.
Right.
Because they, they all had, like, crazy fish-looking dishes and sushimi? I don't know. I don't eat the fishy one, so I don't know what any of it's called. But they definitely had, like, expensive sushi rolls. There was no way that they didn't have at least a $70 bill. And this kid's fighting that he didn't like the sauce he got, and he didn't actually eat any of it. He only ate, like, a bite of it, so they should remove it from his bill. Now, I know for a fact he asked for the sauce because I sat there and listened to him, and that the waitress told him it was going to cost him extra. And then didn't proceed, I don't think, to tell her that he wanted to take it off. So then the waitress is like, well, sorry, no. And the kid pretty much demands, very rudely, to speak to the manager. The manager comes out. He, in no way, shape, or form, tried to be nice about it. He demanded that they took it off. When the manager refused, saying, my waitress wouldn't have given it to you unless you specifically asked for it, and I know that she told you it was an extra cost, and you still took it, he then proceeded to tell her that if she didn't do it, he would have to tell all his friends how much this restaurant gave him problems, and he'd probably post about it on the internet.
You're absolutely kidding me.
No, I swear to God. Those were, like, almost his exact words.
Oh, God.
So, at this point, I'm pretty frustrated with these kids because I've just been hearing their snotty little bullshit through my whole dinner because I can't really help. You know, I'm sitting less than 5 feet away from them, so I can't really help it.
Yeah.
And they've just been complete little asswipes the whole time. So the manager agrees. Like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll take it off. Because she could just tell, you know, she's not going to get anywhere with them.
Right.
So she goes, she takes it off, comes back with the checks. Then they asked to split the check. They didn't ask before any of this. They asked after she took it all off, while she was already correcting stuff. And I don't think allowed splitting checks 3 ways or something. Like, I think there was something in the menu I saw, but nobody even argued with him at this point. You know, they just went back and split the checks. They come back, they're all paying for their meals, and the snooty kid who didn't eat the sauce that he specifically ordered was questioning how much of a tip everybody else left, so he knew how much of a tip to leave. Which is fair enough, because, like, when you have big parties like that, like, if someone isn't tipping enough, you want to make sure, you know, like, the parties, that your waiter is getting a fair enough tip.
Yeah, that's fair.
Except for the kid that he was with said, I didn't tip anything, we had horrible service.
Oh.
I had the same waitress that these people had. The waitress was super nice, she was super accommodating, she refilled my drinks way more times than, like, I couldn't drink it fast enough, and she was, like, pouring more out of a pitcher into, like, my glass of water, you know, like, I'd only drank a quarter of it, and she's already refilling it. She checked on us, like, 3 times during dinner. You know, she was a super nice, super accommodating waitress. I know she was doing the same shit for them, because they were sitting right next to us. So the kid goes, yeah, I didn't tip anything either. And the girl they're with goes, yeah, me neither. We had horrible service. So then this kid goes, okay. So on like a $70 tip, these 3 little shithead kids, after the manager went through a lot of effort to not only accommodate them in removing something from the menu, or removing something from the bill that they shouldn't have removed, and then splitting a check that's not in their policy to split the check, the 3 of them then proceeded to not leave any tip and just leave.
Wow. I literally just, like, hate people. And I'm pretty sure it's just Americans, if I'm being honest with you. You're all just rubbish most of the time.
And as they were leaving the restaurant, they were proceeding to then continue to talk about how horrible that all was and how they don't think they're going to come back here and blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh my god, your problems are not real.
Just get over yourself. Like, seriously, get over yourself.
I can understand if you don't have a lot of money and, you know, a restaurant unfairly charges you for something you didn't eat.
Right.
You know, like I said before, I'm a vegetarian. Like, sometimes I get dishes without meat in them, yet they still cost the same as if they had the meat in them. And, like, every once in a while I'll ask, you know, is there any way that this, you know, obviously you calculate the cost of the meat into the meal that you're giving me. Is there any way you can maybe not? Sometimes. I don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
there's just no need.
Sometimes, right, like sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. Because I'm the one being a snooty asshole needing accommodating, and they're accommodating me.
Right.
But when you're spending $70 on your food...
And let's be real, the sauce that started this whole thing, they were just snooty assholes anyway, but the sauce that you wanted must have been less than, what, $5?
Right.
Wow. There's just no words
like, I can't...
sometimes.
I mean, it wasn't a particularly expensive... Like, it's not like this was some super high-end sushi restaurant. I mean, It literally was, like, underneath some building in D.C. Like, there was, like, an apartment building upstairs. You know, and it was, like, the first floor.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like there was any sort of, I don't know, $100 sushi roll or anything. Like, it wasn't like that. Like, it was just, I mean, Anthony and my meal together was, like, maybe $35 with the tip and everything.
Yeah. So
I mean, like, yeah, it wasn't cheap, but it's not, like...
It's not, like, high-end restaurant. I get that. It's a Pizza Express or whatever it is.
Right, so, like... I don't know, it just really, really rubbed me the wrong way of everything these kids are doing. Because just, like, their problems aren't real. Like, so many people have all these first-person problems. And, I mean, I'm the first one. I'll admit it. I fucking do it, too. But at least I'm courteous to other people around me. Like, you know, I don't just expect the whole world to bow down and accommodate my first world problems.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, nobody can pretend that they're angels and don't moan about bullshit stuff, but there's a huge difference in thinking that you're actually entitled to be such an absolute wanker. And
right, and like I know there's certain places where it's difficult, like I was saying with like the vegetarianism. Like I know there's certain places where it's difficult for me to even like ask because things that they make come pre-prepared or like pre-portioned or however it is. But like there's places like Panera where on their online ordering it lets me just like unselect chicken and select avocado.
yeah.
Which is really great. Like I could just do that. It just like automatically gets sent right to their kitchen. And then it shows up on a shelf, which is fucking disgusting. Like, what kind of world do I live in that I can do that? Like, I can, at my desk at work, order my lunch, drive 5 minutes down the road, and it's sitting on a counter. I don't have to talk to a single person.
Wow.
I just walk in, grab the bag, turn around, and walk out.
There's
That's
something really depressing about that. Like, that's horrendous.
And I feel disgusted with myself every time I do that.
But you're not going to stop doing it because it's fucking brilliant.
So I'm part of the problem, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, I at least am nice to the fucking people who make my Panera sandwiches and salads. Like, I'm not just going to go in there and turn my nose up at them and demand that they don't charge me because I don't want to eat their salad dressing or some utter bullshit. Like, it's fucking ridiculous.